Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. ETA here, back with another great video for you. If you're yet to subscribe to my channel, please do that. Give me a like and let's get into this one. It's from the Fraser Institute and it's titled The Reality of Socialism, Denmark mini documentary. This is a mini documentary. Are you interested in knowing the reality of socialism in Denmark? Then stay with me. Just don't forget to give me a like and let's go straight into the video. The 6-part series. Okay. Let's see what this is about.
Hello and welcome. I'm Mary O'Grady, America's columnist with the Wall Street Journal. In this video, we explore the Scandinavian country of Denmark. It is often incorrectly characterized as socialist by those promoting socialism for the world. As we'll see, the reality of Denmark, both currently and historically, is very different than the popular perception.
Going back to at least the 1880s, all the way up to roughly the 1970s, Denmark's history is of limited government, free trade, and reliance on entrepreneurs and markets. As a result, the Danes enjoyed great prosperity. Consider that by the early 20th century, Denmark enjoyed one of the highest levels of per person income in all of Europe. And Denmark's economic success was so great during the 20th century that by 1970, its per person income, which is a measure of living standards, had not only caught that of Britain, but it surpassed it. And the success of Denmark was not limited to just income. By the middle of the 20th century, Danes enjoyed one of the highest life expectancies in the world. They also had one of the lowest infant mortality rates in the world.
So what happened in that 20th century that made them have all of these good things? I'm really getting into this.
So how do we explain the incredible historical success of a relatively small Northern European country?
A key part of this success was Denmark's long-standing commitment to limited government and their focus on trade, entrepreneurship, and investment as drivers of economic growth.
Okay, so trade, entrepreneurship. Okay. Trade, entrepreneurship, and investments. Okay.
Eve of its experiment with much larger government, starting in the early 1970s, Denmark had one of the smallest governments in the industrialized world.
Denmark prospered because for the longest time, it relied on entrepreneurs, businesses, workers, and investors, rather than government as the driver of economic growth. So what happened?
This is why people always say that business pays. You don't always have to wait for the government. Like business, it pays. Let nobody lie to you. It really does.
Starting in the early 1970s through the mid-1990s, Denmark experimented with a much larger government and introduced a large welfare state. Government spending in Denmark soared from around 42% of the economy in 1970 to almost 60% by 1995. By the mid-1990s, Denmark had a much larger government than most other industrialized countries. At 59% of its economy, Denmark's government was larger than those of Canada, the United Kingdom, the United States, and Australia, and it was above the average of wealthy industrialized countries, which in 1995 was about 43%. Like its neighboring Scandinavian countries, Denmark's politicians, bureaucrats, and special interests regulated and often even controlled larger and larger shares of the economy. This meant that they, rather than entrepreneurs, investors, business owners, and workers, were increasingly making economic decisions.
So how did the Danish economy respond to increased government spending, heavier regulation, and higher taxes?
The Danish economy struggled. Unemployment remained stubbornly high throughout the 1980s and 90s, and it reached almost 11% in 1993. And inflation soared to double digits starting in the 1970s and continued through much of the 1980s. Simply put, Denmark was in a crisis.
Facing the crisis, what did the Danish government do?
Starting in the mid-1990s, the Danish government reduced government spending as a share of the economy, falling from a high of almost 60% to 50% by 2019. The reductions in government spending helped Denmark get its government finances in order. Denmark balanced its budget and began reducing government debt as a share of the economy. And the Danish people supported limits on deficits and debt so that the country's finances would be more sustainable.
A different way to think about and assess Denmark's economy is the Fraser Institute's global measurement of economic freedom.
If we look at data for 2021, this is the latest year for which we have available data. It shows that Denmark was considered a mostly free country. It ranked 7th out of 165 countries worldwide. But a more nuanced story emerges when we examine the 5 subcomponents of economic freedom. Denmark scores poorly on one of them, the size of government. It's ranked 143 out of 165 countries on that component. But when it comes to the other areas of economic freedom, Denmark is among the freest countries in the world.
But isn't it true that Denmark still maintains one of the largest welfare states among industrialized countries? And that this spending explains the poor ranking of Denmark in the Economic Freedom Index?
Despite its spending reforms, yes, Denmark still maintains a relatively large welfare state, and this explains its comparatively larger government. Denmark still has one of the highest rates of social spending of any industrialized country.
All of this spending has to be financed by taxes because, as we've already seen, Denmark avoids borrowing.
Yes, government spending in Denmark is paid for through higher taxes. But, contrary to popular opinion, that burden is primarily borne by the average Dane. Denmark's sales tax is the second highest in the industrialized world at 25% and is one of 2 main sources used to finance higher government spending. The other tax used to finance Denmark's large government spending is the personal income tax. Unlike countries like Canada, the United States, Australia, and the United Kingdom, where personal income tax rates are steeply progressive, Denmark's high personal income taxes are levied on the middle class. Denmark's high top personal income tax rate, for instance, kicks in at a fairly low level of income. This means that many ordinary Danes pay the top tax rate of a little over 57%. For context, let's look at the US dollar equivalent of where the top personal income tax rate starts for different countries. Denmark's kicks in at about 91,500 US dollars, and in the US, it's well over $500,000. At the same time, Danes understand the importance of attracting investment and entrepreneurs by maintaining a competitive business environment, particularly with respect to business taxes. Denmark continues to maintain one of the lowest business taxes in the industrialized world.
So the Danish model for financing much higher levels of government spending is straightforward. Ordinary Danes pay one of the highest sales taxes in the industrialized world. Many also pay the top personal income tax rate. This means that average Danes pay dearly for higher government spending. It's a mistake to characterize Denmark.
Honestly, everybody paying equal taxes doesn't make sense to me because some people earn low, some people earn high. You don't expect like people that are just struggling to pay a certain amount of tax. That doesn't make sense.
As a socialist or even democratic socialist country, Denmark is one of the most economically free countries on the planet. In many ways, it's more market-oriented than other Western countries, including Canada, the US, Australia, and the United Kingdom. While Denmark once experimented with higher levels of government spending, it learned that these policies don't work. It retreated by reining in government spending. Denmark does have a larger welfare state than many other Western countries, but it pays for this system with higher taxes levied on average Danes. It's an arrangement largely rejected in most other Western countries.
Okay, this was a good one. This was a really good and impactful video. I hope you guys understand now the realities of socialism in Denmark. A lot of things went down, but what stood out to me was the fact that they let us know that why Denmark is thriving is because they base most of the income that sustains the country on entrepreneurship, business, and investment. They don't really fully just depend on the government and all of that. You see business and entrepreneurship and investment, the best thing. This video was really really informative, and I hope you learned one or two from it. And if you did, let me know what stood out to you in the comments, and recommend more videos to me. Do all the YouTube things, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.